Little girl fed a wounded stray wolf for weeks. Years later, she discovered he's the alpha king. The river whispered in the quiet dawn, carrying secrets from the forest that stretched like a dark sea beyond the fields. In that forest, the villagers said, strange creatures roamed, wolves larger than any man, with eyes that gleamed like lanterns in the night. Most dared not enter, fearing the shadows and the howls that chilled the bone. But Alara, a small girl with hair the color of autumn leaves and eyes like storm clouds, did not think of fear. She had always felt a strange curiosity about the world, an urge to touch the unknown. One chilly morning, she wandered closer to the edge of the forest than she had ever dared before, her small boots crunching over frost-tipped grass. And then she saw him. A black wolf lay curled beside the stream, one paw bent at an odd angle, his fur matted with mud and blood. His amber eyes, wide and wary, watched her every move. Most children would have screamed and run, but Alara's heart thumped with something stronger than fear, a deep, instinctive compassion. She knelt a few steps away, lowering her small hand slowly. "It's okay," she whispered, voice trembling yet firm. "I won't hurt you." The wolf growled softly, a low sound that vibrated through the crisp morning air, but he did not flee. He was too weak to run. Alara spent hours that day gathering water in an old tin cup and breaking pieces of stale bread from her breakfast. She laid them carefully near him, retreating a step whenever he lifted his head. His eyes followed her every movement, sharp and intelligent, almost human in their depth. She didn't know why, but she felt certain he understood her, even as she wondered what dangers lay in the dark forest behind him. Days passed. Each morning, Alara brought food and water. She would whisper stories to him about the river, the birds, and the village festivals she had watched from the rooftops. Sometimes she sang softly, and the wolf would tilt his head, as if listening for meaning in her voice. Slowly, carefully, the sharp lines of pain in his eyes softened. His movements became stronger. One morning she noticed he had eaten all the bread and lapped the water clean, his eyes lingering on her with something that felt like gratitude. Still, the villagers warned her. "Stay away from the forest," her mother said one evening, her voice tight with worry. "The wolves are cursed. They are not creatures of this world. You could vanish, Alara. No one would find you." Alara's young heart fluttered with defiance. "But he's hurt," she whispered, touching the wolf's fur in her mind. "He's not bad, he just needs help." Her mother frowned but said no more. Perhaps she saw in Alara's eyes the same stubborn hope she had once carried as a child. As the weeks went on, the wolf healed. His wounds closed and his movements regained strength. Alara began to notice other things. His gaze followed her more closely, and sometimes, when she approached, his ears would twitch as if he anticipated her words. She had never known a wolf to act with such careful attention. Then came the night of the storm. Thunder rolled over the village, and lightning split the sky like silver knives. Alara had been asleep when the wind tore through her window. A sharp howl pulled her awake, a sound that sent shivers down her spine. She dressed quickly, heart hammering, and ran toward the forest. The wolf was there, standing in the rain, muscles tense, fur plastered to his body. His eyes glowed in the darkness. A group of hunters had come, drawn by the legends of the cursed wolf. They carried torches and crude spears, shouting and threatening. The wolf bared his teeth, a growl deep in his throat, but he was outnumbered. Alara froze, torn between fear and the need to protect him. "Go," she screamed, picking up a fallen branch. "Leave him alone." The hunters laughed. "A little girl protecting a beast. Stand aside." Something inside the wolf shifted. His body glimmered under the lightning, a strange power rippling through him. He lunged with a speed that startled even the hunters, knocking one aside. The others scattered, their torches flickering in the wind. When the storm passed, the forest quiet once again, Alara ran to the wolf. She placed her hands on his wet fur, trembling. "Are you okay?" she whispered. He turned to her, and for a moment she thought she saw something impossible. the faint outline of a man's form beneath the black fur, standing tall, fierce, and regal, just for an instant before vanishing again into the body of the wolf. His amber eyes met hers, intense, almost human, full of gratitude and something else she could not name. Alara shivered. Something deep inside her stirred, a feeling she could not explain, a sense that this creature was not ordinary and that their bond had begun long before either of them knew it. The days that followed were quiet, yet strange. She found herself looking toward the forest at all hours, listening for the sound of paws on soft earth. She told no one about the fleeting vision of the man she had seen, fearing disbelief, yet the memory burned in her mind like a secret flame. One morning she awoke to find her small basket of food gone. The wolf had taken it, leaving only paw prints leading toward the deeper woods. Panic rose in her chest. She followed the trail until she reached the clearing by the stream, but the wolf was gone. Only the echo of his growl remained, fading into the distance. Alara returned home, heart heavy. She did not know why, but she felt a deep loss, as if part of herself had vanished with him. For weeks she searched, calling his name softly through the trees, but the forest remained silent. Yet even in his absence he had left a mark. She could feel it in her dreams, a presence watching, patient, waiting, protective. And she knew somehow that their paths were not finished, that one day the wolf would return, and the story between them would continue. The villagers noticed the change in Alara. She became quieter, more thoughtful, often gazing toward the forest as if listening to voices they could not hear. They whispered among themselves, saying she had been touched by the spirits of the woods. One evening, as the sun bled gold across the horizon, Alara sat at the edge of the stream, imagining the wolf returning. The memory of his amber eyes glimmered in her mind. She traced the water with her finger, a small smile on her lips. "I'll wait," she whispered. "No matter how long it takes." And in the shadows, unseen by human eyes, a pair of amber eyes watched her from the forest's edge, strong, patient, and full of a promise that stretched beyond time. The wind shifted, carrying a whisper she could not hear, but somehow felt in her heart, a promise that destiny had begun, and that the bond formed between a little girl and a wounded wolf would one day shape kingdoms, curses, and the very fate of the forest itself. Alara did not know it yet, but the wolf she had saved was no ordinary creature. He carried a power, a legacy that would one day rise from the shadows, and the bond they had forged, fragile, tender, and unspoken, was a thread that could never be broken. As darkness fell, the forest seemed alive with murmurs, as though celebrating the quiet courage of a little girl who dared to care for the lost and wounded. Somewhere in the heart of that vast, shadowed wilderness, the wolf padded silently, watching over her, waiting for the day when they would meet again, a day that would change both their lives forever. And so the story began with a little girl, a wounded wolf, and a bond that even time could not sever. Years had passed since Alara had last seen the wounded black wolf. The girl who once ran barefoot through frost-tipped grass was now a young woman of 17, her hair a deeper shade of auburn and her eyes still stormy, reflecting the restless curiosity that had never left her. The village had changed little, yet she felt different. There was a restlessness inside her, a silent pull toward the forest that had once held her secret friend. The villagers often whispered about the strange things in the woods, shadows moving with unnatural grace, glowing eyes in the dark, and howls that seemed to carry messages. Most children avoided the forest, but Alara could not. There was a memory in her heart that called her, a memory of amber eyes, of a creature that had saved her life without asking for anything in return. One cool autumn morning, she decided to follow that pull. With a small satchel of food and water, she crossed the fields and approached the edge of the forest. The trees rose like ancient towers, their leaves whispering secrets to the wind. She paused, taking a deep breath, remembering the wolf she had tended as a child. Could he still be alive? Could he even remember her? The forest was quiet, almost too quiet. Every crunch of leaves under her boots made her heart leap. Then a sudden rustle came from the shadows ahead. Elara froze. A black shape emerged from the underbrush. Her breath caught. It was him, older, stronger, and more imposing than she had imagined. The wolf's fur shone like midnight, and his amber eyes met hers with a recognition that made her chest ache. "Elara," a voice seemed to whisper in the rustling leaves. Not a human voice, not exactly, but somehow she knew it was him. He stepped closer, powerful and silent, yet his gaze softened when it met hers. She noticed the subtle movements, the careful control, the intelligence in every gesture. This was no ordinary wolf. "You've returned," she whispered, her voice trembling. I never stopped thinking about you." The wolf lowered his head, brushing against her hand. For a long moment the world seemed to hold its breath. Then, under the light of the rising sun, something miraculous happened. The shape of the wolf began to shift, muscles elongating, fur fading, until before her stood a tall man, dark-haired and regal, with eyes that burned amber like molten gold. Elara stumbled back, astonished. You can change." The man's lips curved slightly. "You remember me," he said, voice deep and commanding, yet not unkind. "You have not forgotten the little wolf you saved." Her heart pounded. Who are you?" "I am Kalen," he replied, his gaze steady and unflinching. "Alpha of the northern woods. And you once gave me life when I was at my weakest." Alara's mind spun. The wolf she had tended as a child, the one she had believed to be just a creature of the forest, was not merely a wolf. He was a ruler, a being of immense power, feared by many, yet he remembered her. The bond they had formed as child and creature now bridged two worlds, human and supernatural. I can't believe it," she murmured. "I thought you were just a wolf. I never imagined." Kalen smiled faintly, a hint of amusement in his amber eyes. "You never imagined because no one could. But you, Elara, you have always seen what others cannot. That is why I remember you." Elara stepped closer, drawn by a mixture of awe and familiarity. "Why are you here? Why now?" Kalen's expression darkened, a shadow crossing his handsome features. "The woods are restless. Rival packs stir, and my people are threatened. I came to see if the bond we share might still be alive, if it could guide me through what is coming." The air between them thickened with unspoken emotion. Years had passed, yet the connection they had formed as child and wolf remained, now deepened with unspoken longing and curiosity. Elara felt a warmth she could not name, and Kalen's amber gaze softened as he studied her. "You've grown strong," he said quietly, "but there is more within you than you know, something persistent, courage, compassion, a spark that binds us." Elara's cheeks flushed. I only did what felt right. I never thought it would matter." "It did," Kalen said, his voice low, almost a whisper. "You saved me. You gave me a chance to survive, and that chance, it has not been forgotten." The forest around them seemed to pause, the wind carrying the faint scent of pine and earth. Birds fell silent, and even the river's murmur softened, as if listening to their conversation. "You can still shift," Elara said finally, her voice trembling with awe. You are not just a wolf." Kalen nodded, muscles flexing subtly. "I am both. And both are bound to the other, to the forest, and to you." Elara shivered. The world she had known, so simple and human, had expanded in a way she could hardly comprehend. The forest, the wolf, the boy she had once known as a creature, all intertwined, all alive in a story that had only just begun. For the next few days, Elara stayed near the edge of the forest, visiting Kalen as he patrolled his territory. She watched him shift seamlessly between wolf and man, saw how he commanded respect and fear in equal measure, yet never lost the gentleness she remembered from their first meeting. In those moments, the past and present intertwined, and Elara realized the depth of the bond that had begun years ago. One evening, under the light of a silvered moon, Kalen led her to a hidden glade deep in the forest. The air shimmered with magic and tiny lights danced among the trees. "This is where I come when I need peace," he said softly. "Where I am neither king nor warrior, where I can just be." Alara sat beside him, her hand brushing against his. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "And peaceful." Kalen studied her, a subtle tension in his powerful frame. "I feel something for you," he admitted, his voice hesitant yet honest. "A connection I cannot explain, and yet I do not know if it is safe for you or for me." Alara's heart swelled. "I feel it too," she admitted, "but I am not afraid." For a long moment they sat in silence, listening to the forest song. Then from the shadows a rustle warned them. Kalen's ears twitched, his body tensing instantly. He shifted into wolf form, eyes glowing, muscles coiled like springs. Alara gasped, but she did not move away. She trusted him completely. From the underbrush emerged a rival pack of wolves, larger and more aggressive than any she had seen before. Kalen growled, low and dangerous, a sound that shook the ground. The leader of the rival pack stepped forward, eyes gleaming with malice. Kalen stood, shifting back into his human form, his gaze sharp and commanding. "You will not threaten her," he said, voice steady, yet laced with power. "Leave this place or face the consequences." The rival leader laughed, a cruel sound that echoed through the trees. "A human girl and a half-wolf king, you think that will stop us?" Kalen's amber eyes flared. He shifted again, wolf and man blending in a display of power and grace, his form terrifying and magnificent. Alara watched, breathless, as he moved like a shadow through the trees, every step controlled, every motion precise. The rival pack faltered, uncertainty flickering in their eyes. Alara's heart raced. She realized then that the bond they shared, the trust, the care, the loyalty, was something stronger than any rivalry, any threat. Kalen was not just a protector. He was a force of nature, bound to her in ways neither of them fully understood, yet undeniable. The rival pack, sensing defeat, retreated into the forest, their howls fading into the distance. Kalen returned to Alara, shifting back into human form, his amber eyes softening as he studied her face. "You must be careful," he said, voice gentle now. "The world beyond this forest is dangerous, and there are those who would use your connection to me for their own gain." Alara nodded, understanding the weight of his words. "I'll be careful," she promised, "but I want to stay near you. I want to learn and to help if I can." Kalen's expression softened, a rare smile touching his lips. "Then you shall, but you must be patient. The bond we share is not just of choice but of destiny, and destiny has a path we cannot yet see." Alara's chest swelled with hope. She knew the path would be difficult, filled with danger and uncertainty, but she was ready, ready to face whatever came with Kalen by her side. As they sat beneath the moonlit sky, the forest around them alive with whispered secrets, a shadow moved silently between the trees. A faint rustle, barely audible, but enough to make Kalen's ears twitch once more. Alara looked at him, sensing the tension that returned like a wave. "What is it?" He did not answer immediately. Instead, his amber eyes scanned the darkness, muscles coiled. Then he turned to her, voice low and serious. "We are not alone. Something watches us, and it is coming." Alara's heart skipped a beat. Years had passed, yet the adventure of their bond and the dangers it brought was only beginning. And somewhere deep in the forest, unseen, a pair of glowing amber eyes observed them, patient, silent, and full of a power that stretched beyond imagination. The story of Alara and Kalen had begun again, stronger, deeper, and more dangerous than ever before. The forest had never seemed so alive. Every leaf shimmered with a secret light, and the air carried whispers that made Alara's skin tingle. After the encounter with the rival wolves, she realized that the life she had known in the village was small, fragile, and distant from the true power that lingered in the woods. Kalen walked beside her, his tall figure moving with perfect control, his amber eyes ever watchful. "You must understand," he said quietly, "that my world is not like yours. It is ancient, full of power, and dangerous. There are rules I must follow and curses I cannot escape. Alara listened, her curiosity stronger than her fear. Curses? What kind of curses? She asked. Kalen's jaw tightened. He looked away, staring at the trees as if they alone could bear witness to his secrets. I am bound by a curse that has lasted centuries. Until I choose a mate, not by duty, not by prophecy alone, but by heart, I cannot remain fully human. My people, my kingdom, even the forest itself suffers from it. Alara stopped in her tracks, overwhelmed. A curse all this time, but is there a way to break it? Kalen's amber eyes met hers, fierce and unreadable. Perhaps. But it requires trust, courage, and a bond stronger than fear, and it may not be safe for you to be involved. Alara stepped closer, reaching for his hand. I'm not afraid. I want to help. He looked at her for a long, tense moment. Then, after a deep breath, he nodded. Very well. You must follow me to the heart of my kingdom. There, you will see everything, the power, the people, the responsibilities I bear. The journey through the forest was unlike anything Alara had ever known. Trees towered like cathedral spires, their leaves glowing faintly as if lit from within. Streams ran silver, carrying reflections of moons that seemed impossibly close. Shadows moved with a strange rhythm, and small creatures peeked at them from behind mossy trunks. Finally, they reached a clearing where a great castle rose from the earth. It was built of dark stone, with towers spiraling like fingers toward the sky. Magical lights danced along the battlements, illuminating flags bearing the symbol of a wolf encircled by fire. This is my home, Kalen said simply, yet there was pride in his voice. Welcome to the heart of my kingdom. Alara stared in awe. The castle was larger than anything in her village, majestic and forbidding at the same time. Guards, human and wolf alike, moved with precision, their eyes sharp and alert. Courtiers in dark robes and embroidered cloaks bowed respectfully as Kalen passed, but not all eyes were friendly. Some watched her with suspicion, whispering among themselves. Alara noticed the tension immediately. Do they not like me? She asked quietly. Kalen's expression darkened. They are cautious. Outsiders rarely come here and even fewer are welcomed. But you are different. You have touched me in a way none others have. That is why you are allowed here. As they moved deeper into the castle, Kalen explained more about his people, the laws of the Wolf Kingdom, and the danger posed by rival packs. Power is not simply strength, he said. It is control, responsibility, and sacrifice. Every choice I make affects not only me, but those who serve me and those I protect. Alara listened intently, absorbing everything. She felt both awe and fear, but mostly she felt an unshakable sense of connection. The boy she had once saved as a child had grown into a man of immense power, yet beneath the strength, she could see the weight of centuries pressing down on him. That evening, Kalen led her to a secluded courtyard, where moonlight poured over a fountain carved with wolves and stars. Here you may rest, and here I will explain my curse fully, he said, his voice gentle but serious. He told her of the centuries-long history of his lineage. Kings who had ruled with wisdom and cruelty alike, wolves who had been bound to human forms, and the magical law that demanded a mate chosen by heart to break the cycle. Until that moment, Kalen said, I am neither fully man nor fully wolf, and those who seek to harm me know this weakness. That is why the forest has always been my shield. Alara felt the weight of his words. And you trust me enough to tell me this. Kalen looked at her, amber eyes glowing faintly in the moonlight. I trust you because you have always been brave, always been compassionate. You saw me when no one else did. That matters. A sudden rustle in the shadows broke their conversation. Kalen's muscles tensed instantly. He shifted into his wolf form, eyes bright with intensity. Alara did not flinch. She had learned to trust him. From the shadows, a figure emerged, a young warrior of the court, carrying a message. He bowed deeply to Kalen, who shifted back to human form. "The rival lords grow bold," the messenger said. "They have begun to stir the smaller packs against us. Your presence, Alpha, is required." Kalen nodded, eyes darkening. "And you, Ilara, you must be careful. This is no longer a place of safety." Ilara felt a thrill of fear and excitement. "I will stay. I want to help. I want to understand." He studied her for a long moment. Then slowly he placed a hand over hers. "If you choose to stay, you must follow me completely. You will see the dangers, the burdens, and the sacrifices, and you will need courage more than you can imagine." The next day, Kalen brought her into the heart of the castle, where the court gathered. Ilara had never seen anything like it. Nobles and warriors, humans and wolves in human form, each moving with precision and authority. Some greeted Kalen with respect, others with envy, and a few, she noticed, with hidden malice. The Alpha King himself was a sight to behold. Even among his people, Kalen commanded attention effortlessly. His posture, his gaze, his very presence radiated authority. And yet, when his eyes met Ilara's across the room, the intensity softened, revealing a hidden layer of warmth and trust that no one else could see. A council was called, and Ilara followed quietly, listening as Kalen discussed the rising threats. "The rival lords seek to exploit my curse," he said firmly. "They hope to challenge me, to weaken our kingdom, and perhaps to take advantage of what they believe is my vulnerability." Ilara shivered. The stakes were higher than she had imagined. This was no longer the world of her village. This was a kingdom alive with magic, danger, and politics, and she was part of it now. After the council, Kalen led her to a quiet chamber. "You see now why I cannot simply return to the forest," he said. "I must lead, I must protect, and I must survive. And in all of this, you are part of my fate." Ilara felt a mixture of awe and fear. "Fate?" she asked. "Yes," Kalen said softly. "The bond we share is not accidental. It is written in the magic of this forest, in the cycles of the wolves, in the history of my people. You saved me once, and now destiny has brought us together again. But with that destiny comes danger." As they spoke, a shadow fell across the chamber. A figure moved silently, barely noticeable, yet Kalen's sharp senses detected it instantly. He stepped forward, body coiled like a spring, ready to protect. Ilara remained calm, her trust in him unwavering. Suddenly, a subtle movement, almost invisible, caught her eye. Another wolf, larger and darker than Kalen's usual form, lingered at the edge of the light. Its eyes were bright, malicious, and intelligent. Kalen's lips pressed into a thin line. "They are closer than we thought," he said quietly. Ilara felt her pulse quicken. "Closer? Who are they?" "The rival lords," Kalen explained, his voice steady but low. "They have spies, wolves loyal to them, sent to watch, to wait, and to strike. They seek to destroy what we have built and perhaps even take you from me." Ilara's heart ached, but she did not step back. "I am not afraid," she said, meeting his gaze. "I trust you." Kalen studied her, a mixture of admiration and caution in his amber eyes. "Your courage will be tested," he said. "More than once, and not all threats are visible. Some come in whispers, in lies, in shadows." He reached out and brushed a strand of hair from her face, a gentle gesture that belied his fierce power. "But if you stay by my side, we will face it together. And perhaps, together, we can break the curse that binds me." The night deepened and the castle settled into a tense quiet. Yet outside the walls, the forest stirred. Shadows moved between the trees, unseen yet purposeful. Somewhere in the darkness, eyes gleamed with intent. The danger was real, and the bond between Ilara and Kalen would be tested like never before. And as they stood together in the quiet chamber, hands brushing, hearts aligned, neither of them could know just how close the rival forces were, or how quickly the world they had come to know could shift into chaos. But one truth remained. The bond between a girl who once saved a wounded wolf and the Alpha King who now stood before her was unbreakable. And the story was far from over. The forest had grown silent. the kind of silence that hums with tension. Every shadow seemed to move, every rustle of leaves carrying a warning. Alara stood beside Kalen in the courtyard of his castle, the moonlight casting long silver shadows across the stones. The rival lords had mobilized their forces, and scouts had reported movements within the outer forest. Tonight, the battle would come, and nothing would be the same again. Kalen's amber eyes glowed faintly as he shifted between man and wolf, the power coiling through him like a living river. Alara watched him, a mixture of awe, fear, and admiration tightening in her chest. She had never seen him like this, fully alive, fully commanding, and yet always aware of her presence. "You must stay close," Kalen said, his voice low and steady, carrying both warning and reassurance. "The moment danger comes, I need you at my side but out of harm's way." "Trust me," Alara nodded. "I trust you, always." A soft wind swept through the courtyard, carrying with it the scent of pine, moss, and something darker, the approach of the enemy. From the tree line, shapes emerged. Wolves larger than normal, their eyes glowing with malice, humans in dark cloaks, and creatures that twisted in shadows, all united under the banners of the rival lords. Kalen stepped forward, his form shifting seamlessly between man and wolf. His howl echoed through the trees, a sound that resonated deep in the hearts of his people. Wolves answered from the forest, rallying to his side, and the castle walls seemed to tremble with the energy of the gathering forces. Alara gripped the hilt of the small dagger Kalen had given her, not as a weapon to fight, but as a reminder of her courage. "I'm ready," she whispered to herself, though every nerve in her body tingled with anticipation. The first wave of attackers surged forward, but Kalen met them with strength and precision. He moved like the wind, wolf and man blending into a single force, his amber eyes blazing with determination. Alara watched as he protected his people, his kingdom, and most of all her. A shadow leapt from the tree line, aiming for Alara, but Kalen was faster. He intercepted, shifting into a wolf midair, knocking the intruder aside effortlessly. Alara felt a thrill of fear and relief wash over her. She had never doubted him, but to see his power in full display was overwhelming. The battle raged, each moment filled with tension and danger. Kalen's people fought fiercely, humans and wolves united, their coordination precise and practiced. Alara stayed close, guiding those who hesitated, helping where she could, and offering a calm presence that steadied even the bravest warriors. During a brief pause in the fight, Kalen returned to her side, shifting back to human form. "You've been brave," he said, voice low yet full of emotion. "And this courage of yours strengthens me more than you know." Alara looked up at him, breathless. "I only follow you, always." His amber eyes softened, and for a moment the chaos of battle faded into the background. They were just two beings connected by a bond that neither time nor danger could sever. The curse that had haunted him for centuries seemed to tremble in the presence of her unwavering trust. But the rival lords had not yet been defeated. From the shadows, a figure stepped forward, the leader of the enemy forces. Cloaked in black, his eyes glowed faintly with dark magic. Kalen's posture stiffened, muscles coiling like springs. "This ends tonight," Kalen growled, shifting into his wolf form. His howl echoed, carrying both warning and defiance. The rival leader smirked, raising a hand that shimmered with energy, and the ground beneath them trembled. Alara's heart pounded. "Kalen," she whispered. "I will protect you," he said fiercely, shifting back into human form for a moment to place a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Stay close, but trust me to lead." The final confrontation began. Kalen moved with the grace of the wolf and the strength of a king, his every strike precise, every movement intentional. Alara followed his lead, helping those in danger, guiding his people, and offering a steady presence that reminded him of the world beyond battle, of compassion, hope, and love. The rival leader unleashed a surge of dark energy, aiming directly at Kalen. Time seemed to slow. Kalen's eyes glowed amber, his form shimmering between wolf and man, and with a roar he leapt, intercepting the attack with sheer force. The collision of power sent shockwaves through the forest, shaking the ground beneath them. Alara watched, heart in her throat. "Kalen," she shouted, but he only glanced at her briefly, amber eyes locking with hers. In that instant she understood he drew strength not just from the forest, not just from his power, but from the bond they shared. Her courage, her trust, her presence, it fueled him in ways nothing else could. With a final, commanding effort, Kalen defeated the rival leader. The shadows recoiled, the dark energy dissipating into the night. The remaining attackers fled, scattering into the forest, their morale broken. The battlefield grew silent, save for the labored breathing of those who had fought and survived. Kalen shifted back to human form, tall and imposing, yet a faint exhaustion shadowed his amber eyes. Alara rushed to his side, placing her hand over his. "You did it," she said softly, voice trembling. "It's over." He looked at her, a mixture of relief and admiration in his gaze. "No," he said quietly, "it's only over because you were here. Because of your courage, your heart, your trust. You reminded me of what it means to be fully human, to embrace both strength and compassion." Alara blushed, uncertain what to say. She had never imagined her small acts of kindness long ago could lead to this, standing beside an Alpha King, victorious after a battle that could have destroyed them both. Kalen took a deep breath, his gaze intense. "There is one more thing," he said, voice low but firm. "The curse, it can now be broken. Only if I choose you, not by duty, not by prophecy, but by heart. Alara, will you stand with me?" Alara's heart leapt. She felt tears prick her eyes, not from fear, but from the overwhelming sense of destiny and love that surged between them. "Yes," she whispered, voice steady. "I will stand with you." Kalen's amber eyes softened, glowing brighter than ever. Slowly he took her hand, and the energy of the forest, the bond they had shared for years, and the magic that had bound him began to converge. The curse that had haunted him for centuries trembled, then shattered like glass. The forest itself seemed to exhale, a wave of light washing over the castle, the trees, and the clearing. Wolves howled in celebration, and the magical energy that had bound Kalen's people shifted, lighter, freer, full of hope. Alara and Kalen stood together, hands entwined, their hearts beating as one. The Alpha King was no longer cursed, no longer divided between man and wolf. And yet he could still shift at will, a reminder of the bond he shared with the forest and with her. In the days that followed, the kingdom celebrated. Peace returned to the forest, rival packs fled or pledged loyalty, and Kalen's people embraced a future full of balance, strength, and unity. Alara walked beside him through the castle halls, their bond no longer secret, no longer tentative, but celebrated. Yet in quiet moments, when the moon rose high and the forest whispered its secrets, Kalen and Alara would slip away to their favorite glade. There, under silvered light, they would sit together, hands brushing, hearts aligned, feeling the pulse of the forest, the energy of their love, and the quiet joy of a bond forged in trust, courage, and destiny. One night, as they sat beneath the ancient trees, Kalen shifted into his wolf form, kneeling beside Alara. She reached out, running her hand through his fur, and whispered, "I knew you would come back." His amber eyes gleamed with centuries of unspoken devotion. He pressed his head against her shoulder, nuzzling her gently, and for a long moment the world felt perfect. "Together," he murmured, voice soft, almost human. "Together," she echoed. The forest around them hummed, alive with magic, with life, and with the knowledge that their story, begun when she was a little girl and he was a wounded wolf, had reached its true beginning. For Alara and Kalen, destiny was no longer a curse or a mystery. It was a promise. A promise of courage, of love, of trust, and of a bond that would endure for all time. And as dawn broke over the forest, painting the sky in gold and silver, they walked together, man and woman, human and wolf, king and companion, into a future full of hope, adventure, and the unshakable strength of a love that had waited years to be fulfilled.